Infrastructure Committee. My name is Dan Licht. I'm the city planner. There's an agenda in front of you, but being this is the first meeting, we're not going to really follow it. We're going to go off schedule right from the start. First thing is City Clerk Joan Heinen wanted me to make note, just some things, housekeeping matters. First of all, the meeting is being videotaped, so if anyone has concerns about that, it's only for transcription purposes so that Joan can produce minutes so that the public and the city council and the committee can stay informed and keep a record of what's being discussed here. Second is, I believe Joan caught you all as you were coming in the door. Each meeting you'll be asked to fill out a claim form so that you can collect your stipend for having attended the meeting, and she will keep track of those for you. Finally, if anyone hasn't been to City Hall before, the bathrooms are out that door and to the left if you need to use them. At any point, just feel free to get up from the meeting and take care of your needs. So in addition to the meeting order, normally we'll follow the regular agenda. We typically start meetings in the city of Baldwin with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you would all stand and we can do that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. So for roll call, typically we have either the clerk or the chair would go around and call everyone's name. You can respond present. Again, being the first meeting and we're all getting familiar with people that we probably haven't met before or maybe only know somewhat socially. I think we'll do roll call by going around. You can introduce yourself, just provide some basic information like how long you've lived in Baldwin, why you were interested in joining the Infrastructure Committee, what particular expertise you would bring to the committee and its purpose in looking at the city's future space needs and infrastructure needs. Also kind of important for the next item on the agenda in terms of electing a chair and vice chair. If you want to indicate if you participated in a committee setting such as this in the past as well. So we'll start over here.
Hello. Diane, lived in Baldwin for 7 years. I've never been on a committee before. Remember that was one of the last questions you asked. What will I bring? I am hoping to bring just a different perspective, a bigger picture things for whatever gets brought up. Thanks.
Jackie Sadler. I've been in Baldwin for 19 years. I was on the committee of the Central Minnesota Art Co-op. We're done. And I hope to bring different perspectives like Diane and maybe some of my background and expertise.
Teresa Barnes. I've been in Baldwin almost 4 years. Have my dream house on my lake, so I'm happy camper. I currently work as a project engineer for the city of Blaine. So I'm the staff representative on planning commission there. But I've been a civil engineer doing development projects, road river projects, and all sorts of items along those lines for over 20 years now. So I thought this is a good way to get back to my community.
What's your first name?
Teresa. Teresa?
Teresa.
Yeah.
You may remember her from Planning Commission. She needed a variance.
They needed 3. And now I'm in front of Park Board. I got projects going.
Hi, my name is Tom Walter. I've been in Baldwin Township here for almost 30 years, and I'm retiring soon from a division of Caterpillar. I've got about 30 years in doing that. A lot of background in big business kind of stuff, and the division I work for is paving products, so a lot of road construction background. So I want to give back to the community, and I feel like I can deliver something that everybody else.
Jeff Holm, I'm on the city council. Got involved back in the 05, 06 era when went to St. Cloud State, community development, minor in economics, focused on economic development. Did a lot of putting committee together back in '08 and through the first term. We did Healthy Community Partnership Grant with the Michigan Foundation, and it led to creation of the Planning Commission, and a lot of the steps that we took to get to where we are, where we're doing our own planning and zoning, and we have a contract planner here, great guy Dan, and we got, Tom Rush and Jay Swanson have been on the board / council for 16 years now. Scott's been with the fire department for how many years?
15?
15, been on the, a term on the board plus and on the council, and then Al joined up with us, a little over a year ago. And, also serves on the park committee, I'll say that, but anyways, so, long story short, a lot of us have worked with community members. I think there's probably been over 60 people that have gotten us from the 2008 era to where we are today, that were not on the board or on the council, that helped make things happen. So when we got 13 applicants, we were like, no, we don't need to whittle it down, we need to bring everyone in here, because everyone's got something important to bring, and help us vet what needs to be done here. So I'm very happy that we got the turnout we did, and that you're all here tonight, and I'm very excited to see what you guys can come up with.
Mike Rademacher, I'm a 6th grade science teacher. We've been in the community 24, 25 years. Try to be very community involved. If any of you have kids in the youth sports, I was one of the couple members that we first started the Princeton Baseball Softball Association. Was a member of the original, when the fire department first started, had 16 or 17 years on that. I probably attended well over 100 board meetings. And I believe when they first started the fire department, one of the things the board had in mind, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, was there was a vision to incorporate. And they said, if we can show that, we can start supplying some of these services. And I believe Jeff, Jay, and Tommy have been on the board after, 6, 7, 8 years. We were starting to get mad, saying, hey, why aren't we incorporating? And they said, we have to have a plan. There's a plan in place. It's not gonna be as fast as you think it's gonna be. So when you're hearing people saying they haven't been planning, this plan it's been in place for quite a while. May not have moved as fast as some of us hope, but I think it worked out better than anyone on the board imagined when they went to the administrative judge. So that's why I thought I can come in here, and I do have a history of the perspective of everything and what the plans were.
Try to follow you guys. I'm Cooper, live off of 4-2, whatever the case you might want to call it when you see it. My wife wants me out of the house, she's gonna have one chickens. It's hard to get along here. I have a very unique perspective after spending 15 years on the fire department, volunteer-wise, so I understand that neck of the woods. Working with several developers in Blaine and Lionel Lakes, and being on the committees of watching those developments happen, some done well and some done poorly, and watching the people get suffer in reference to that. So it brings me that perspective and trying not to let that happen here. I have done a lot of development work. My PhD is in animal science, so I understand people really well. I'm really good at reading things, so I think I bring that perspective of being a positive negotiator and meeting new people and just being present, because if you're not present, you can complain, but you never get anything done unless you're there.
My name's Brian Torborg. I've been here almost 30 years. I worked for Milton County Sheriff's Office for almost 30 years. Been on the fire department since its inception 22 years ago, still on. Reason I kind of wanted to be on this was when we were still a township, we had a building committee. I was one of the people on the building committee for almost 2 years. And this kind of just rolled from the building committee into this infrastructure committee, so I just rolled along with it to keep going.
And again, as I said, Dan Licht, I'm the city planner. I don't live in Baldwin, and I've only worked in Baldwin since 2022. I was brought on kind of in the final steps of the incorporation process and assisted the town board, city council through that process, and now basically I administer the zoning ordinance. I work as the liaison to the planning commission and assist city staff as needed. The city council requested that I help this committee as well, and it basically assist you to complete the tasks that the council is asking you to complete. So, can you just provide guidance and some insight and direction to kind of focus discussion. So.
Yeah, I'm Dick Marshall. I sit on the planning commission here. I have for about 8 years. I've been here in this city since 2013. My background is in law enforcement with the Los Angeles Police Department and building. I'm a third-generation partner and 35-year Class B builder. I've sat on other committees, but I've been on this one for a good long time. I chaired it for some time, so I'm happy that we're coming this far along. It's a big job for us to do here, and we have to stick to it and stick on track. And that's
Chad Miller, been in Baldwin for almost 17 years. I, like Brian, was on the building committee that we had built before, so I'd like to keep that going. What I can bring is construction knowledge, maintenance, future maintenance issues. That's pretty much my background. And I got some familiarity with fire departments and fire stations too, so I'll bring that with.
I'm Andy, excuse me. My name's Andy Schrader. Since 1998, actually, when I think back to it, my wife and I found some land, been there ever since. And been involved in the township, now in the city in varying capacities over the years with a lot of volunteer work in the past. I've been in construction and I'm a building official. I'm actually the building official for here, for Baldwin as well. And contracts in Blaine and a number of areas around the state. And I bring a lot of background in buildings, the functionality, the durability of it, and also that code perspective. So I'm kind of hoping to help guide things in that direction, just to avoid any planning that may not work out in the long run. My wife also very involved in the area. She just recently retired a month ago from Sherman County Sheriff's Office. So she's also very involved in the community and in our church, Christ Our Light, new church coming up on 9. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff going on. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this. Thanks.
I'm Bruce West. I'm obviously the youngest member as far as living in this community. I've only been here 3 years, but I was in public safety, local and state government for 43 years. And I've been very involved in infrastructure planning and building. I was 15 plus years at Elk River. Bruce. West.
Wow, can he hear?
No, but I started in Elk River in '94 when Elk River was a nice community of 10,200 people. And I left there in 2009 when it was 20+ thousand. And so I was in many planning meetings and way too many to remember for infrastructure planning for that community. But I want to be involved obviously in the community, and that's why I'm here, so thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Parrish Barton. My wife Sarah and I have lived in the community for about 6 years. I've been a water and wastewater supervisor for the city of St. Francis. I've helped construct water treatment facilities, wastewater treatment facilities, and we just got done constructing our city hall fire station. So I was part of the building committee for that, and then when I seen this come across on Facebook, I thought, sounds like a good idea to give back to the community, so that's what I'm here. And Tom's my neighbor, so that worked out pretty good too, so.
We won't hold that against
Everything was good.
Let me strike that from the record.
my name is Alan Walker, and I've lived in Baldwin for 28 years. Retired, semi. Decided to get on with the Parks Board for a while, and then I had the opportunity to be on the council, so I'm here and I'm just trying to help out whatever we can Paul Snow. Paul Snow. Keep myself busy around
Thank
here.
you.
Your last member's coming in the door right now.
Oh, perfect.
Got a seat for her right up front.
Hello.
Hi. You wanna?
Just go right your way.
Thanks for saving me the closest spot.
Gonna use the other door.
Well, fortunately, you came at just the right moment, because everyone's got around the table and introduced themselves, and it's your turn, even though you don't know anyone else. You'll catch up.
My name is Amy Sprickmeyer. I lived in Baldwin about 29, 30 years. And I work at the Princeton School District in the early childhood program. And I think this is like your 15 or 16. doing that. So, and my daughter was born and raised and off and running. So she's 23 now, so she grew up here too.
Very good, all right. Well, since everyone's so familiar with each other now, we come to the important part of electing your chair and vice chair. Because in my 30-year career as a planner, I've never chaired a public meeting like this and don't want to. It's not my forte or role. So it's important that we have leadership within the committee itself to guide this process and be able to communicate back to the city council. In terms of the way the committee will work, it generally follows a loose version of Robert's Rules, which if you've had any experience in any type of government, you're familiar with. Every action is directed, all conversation directed through the chair. Official actions are taken by someone making a motion to take an action. I motion to approve minutes for the meeting, and then that's followed by another member making a second. And then there's a vote of the committee members present, majority rules. So in terms of nominating and electing a chair and vice chair, the first step would be someone must nominate a person to serve as chair. There needs to be a second, and then there would be a call for any additional nominations, and then we can vote by voice, I think, informally in this setting. So, and then we follow the same process basically for vice chair.
Can I nominate Cooper?
I second that.
Okay. Cooper was nominated. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none. There's some animal psychology for you. Hearing no other nominations, all in favor of Cooper as chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Mr. Cooper is the chair.
Thank you, everybody, that's an honor.
If you would like to handle the nominations for vice chair.
So is there any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Andy.
Can I decline?
Yes, you can.
With all due respect, just with my position as a building official, I don't know that that would present any different, I don't know. I guess I said no right away out of caution for that.
But you can do
It's your option to decline.
I would thank you for that, and I will decline, but I'm gonna be as active of a member as I can.
I'd like to nominate Bruce Voss.
I second that.
He just laughs.
Mr. Webb.
Mr. West.
You, the guy with the hearing.
It's important.
I try to listen.
Who made the nomination? Was that you, Jeff?
No,
No.
wait.
Oh, I'm
Cooper
sorry,
did.
thank you.
Two nominations.
Well, I'd like to throw my hat in because I'm a data-driven, organized type of person, and I will help you out, so. Anyway, really nominate me.
I'll nominate Tom.
You're retiring soon, too.
I'll second that. You're done.
I do have a question before we move any further. Any of the ladies want to?
They're like,
I will if nobody wants to, but he's lined up for it, it works for
But I
me,
wanna
I'm
make
not
sure-
arguing.
I want to make sure you're heard.
Oh, yeah, I'll be heard, I'm not worried about that.
We'll definitely make sure we're heard.
oh, you're.
We don't have to be chair, vice chair to be heard, I promise.
It's respect is for me.
Mr. Chair,
Thank
now
you for
that
asking.
Tom has stepped up, I'm gonna withdraw my name, please.
So all in favor that we have a vice chair nominated and seconded? All in favor of Tom?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Welcome, Tom.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted for a point of clarification for everybody, Al and I are serving as liaisons to the committee. You guys are the committee.
Yes, sir.
We're not the committee, we're not voting on anything, we're just here to turn the lights on, unlock the door, and, bounce any questions off of us, maybe once in a while inject something that they need to have.
Fill us in.
Yeah, something, but just so you understand, we're just here as liaisons to help you guys do your thing, it's your committee, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. Now we're sitting here, we have no agenda.
Right.
So
Mr.
therefore,
Chair, if I may hijack your meeting again.
please do so.
Since Mr. Holmes started down this road, I think it would be helpful to hear from the city council as to why they established this committee, what they see the objectives and purpose of the committee, and what type of work products they're looking for.
We have the power to open up the floor so that
Or,
our
yes.
mayor can speak as well.
The mayor can
And
speak.
also our other council people.
You do,
Please.
if you will. Hello, everybody, I'm Jay Swanson, I'm the mayor, and welcome, everybody. You know, when we ran, we did this, we've been working on turning Baldwin into a city, if you will, literally for the entire 16 years I was on the board. You know, we were working to this point, we've had.
Came out of nowhere.
Huh?
Came
Out of nowhere. I'm telling you, I 16 years ago, when I ran for the board the first time, I said, this is not gonna be a career. 16 years later, I'm not sure, you know, exactly what it is, but I still don't think it's gonna be a career. It's, for the most part, it's been a joy. Thank you guys, in my opinion, it takes a community, and here you are, right? You know what I mean? Where are we gonna go? What are we gonna look like? What are our buildings, what are our infrastructure needs gonna be for the, you know, the near future, 5 years, 10 years, that kind of thing. Fire department, town hall, keep calling it town hall, city hall, you know, that kind of thing, whatever. And, to have all of you guys, when I read all of the bios, if you will, from what that, I wanted every one of you on this committee. That is absolutely wonderful. I think this is, you know, I can't, I don't have any expectations as far as where we think things are gonna go, whatever. I wanna know what you think, right? I want you to look at the facilities. I think tonight is also gonna be a tour of all the facilities we have here. Take a look at them, see what you think, tell us what you think. We wanna know, the council wants to know, what's your opinions? What do you guys think it is, right? Again, it takes a time, and welcome everybody. I'm available again too, like, Mr. Holmes said, these guys are the liaisons. Mr. Licht, whatnot, is the facilitator of this meeting because he comes from years and years and years of doing this, and it'd be wonderful. He is also our contract planner for the city of Baldwin, whatever, and a fantastic guy. This guy, the presentation that he put together for us in our incorporation hearing was fantastic. Never seen anything like it, whatever. It was wonderful, blew the judge away. One of the big reasons why we are here and we are the city as we are. So that being said, if you have any questions, I am not necessarily gonna be here at this meeting because this is your meeting. If you guys want me here for some reason, any whatsoever, I'm more than willing to be at whatever one you want. But this is your meeting, I don't wanna influence it by my presence, other than the first evening to say thank you and welcome. You know, it takes all of us, so I'm glad you're here.
I'd just like to echo what Mayor Swanson said, and last fall, we voted to have this committee in place to look at these buildings, because this building was built in 1982. Fire station was built in 2002. They've kind of all grown their purposes and need to be looked at. So excited, well-diverse committee here, wealth of knowledge. And then I also like to say we also got our public works guys here too, Zach and Phil, who will be showing you the buildings, so wealth of knowledge there. So welcome everybody, appreciate your time.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask the mayor a question.
Sure.
Are we, in our efforts here, are we, as I gather it anyway, should be, our main focus should be the fire department, the city hall, and public works. Is that what we're focusing on, or can we go, God forbid, anywhere else.
That is the mainstay of why this was put together. That's the immediate infrastructure. But when you start looking at this too, and we think about that, because the city owns the corner on 9 and 49, the northwest corner down there, what happens on that piece of property, if anything? Again, I don't wanna drive anything in
I
any
just wanted to
direction.
set that.
I think as you guys get together and begin to gel, you know, the ideas and the thoughts of even farther than just these couple of buildings here, I think will take shape, and I look forward to hearing what that is.
Thank you, sir.
I think it would be really helpful to really set the stage. What's our mission? I like a mission. If I know what my mission is, I'm gonna go after it. And I don't really 100% understand the mission. Can someone
Maybe I can shed a little light on, Sharon. So, a little background, you got how when these buildings were built. You're gonna see on the tour that we have a challenge of space. We're running out of space for, we've added equipment, different challenges. There was a building committee that looked at building a new fire hall and the city hall combined on the land, it was 30 acres, was it 30 acres? On the corner, 45 and 9 on the northwest corner. You guys purchased it in 2000.
2021.
After 2021.
This is the first COVID month.
Yep, and, it's a great strategic location for the long-term future. What we're trying to figure out right now is what's the appropriate move for us. Do we make additions or improvements to the facilities we have and run them another 10, 15, 20 years? We don't know, we're asking. Or is it, you know, throw in good money and bad money by putting more in here? So we need you to take a look at what we have. We have some, the staff will have some preliminary ideas, and there's some ideas and some things that, you know, each compartment here, we have the town hall and where we have our meetings and elections. Then you have the maintenance buildings and what goes on there. And for years, we've kicked around, you know, we hold the annual meeting in the old shop. And we've kicked around turning that into like the council chamber for the meetings, just period. And take this building and, you know, reconfigure it and make some, more private offices and maybe a small meeting room or something. And, I'll let Joan speak to that when you get the nickel to her. But you're gonna find out that we're busting at the seams here. We haven't done any improvements on energy or technology. We're looking at streaming we've got equipment purchased to stream our council meetings. And so things are gonna have to, you know, take place and happen, so, you know, we should be thinking about how we're gonna integrate that into where we're going, where we're at right now. So does that kind of clear it up for you a little bit?
Yeah, a little
I
bit.
think after the tour, maybe you could ask that question again.
How many employees are there? How many employees are there within the city?
So right now, on a daily basis in this office, you have the clerk treasurer, Joan, and her deputy, Kayla. And we used to have an assistant, but she retired, but things could come up and we could end up having someone, you know, additional assistant. Dan, you meet with, people here, so there's times where he'll come and meet with, someone with a zoning request, and they're gonna go over some stuff, and then someone from the public will come to the door and think, oh, this must be a private meeting and I can't come in, so it'd be nice to have somewhere where, you know, Dan could work with residents on their, or developers, whoever, contractors come in. And then, so you got basically, you know, at this point, Dorothy, down the road here, you know, 4 or 5 years, you know, like I said, you might pick up another person in the office. You got the 2 maintenance guys, in the back, and then, when you go talk about the fire department, are you at 33?
35.
35.
We have 35, we have 33 currently, but we're authorized for 40, and we intend to hire, starting May 1st, we're putting out a hiring deal to hire some more, just because of increased run volume and that kind of.
So we try to run lean and mean,
Yeah, that sounds very good to me.
and, you know, Andy's introduced himself as the building official and does the inspections. He has a private firm, and he once in a while, you'll also meet with, or your.
Right, and I mean, the chief in here, fire chief, talk about building plans and so on as well. But yeah, we also meet with developers and contractors.
At this office.
Correct.
So let me ask this question, okay? In creating a mission statement, all these ideas that we have around this table are going to have to get milled together somehow, some way. So if we take and maybe note fashion what some of your ideas that are planning, because this is like brand spanking new, and all the personalities and what's going on have no way of finding out if it's not told or shared. I know there's a lot of great development plans that were done in the past that should be looked at to move forward, so that window of communication needs to be shared, because there's, instead of wasting time and seeing how we can project and get to some of those goals in the future, is part of what I'm hearing is going on, and how to structurally put things together so we don't lose our role feel, and have people understand that things are not just happening overnight. There's a lot more going on than what people think. Because if they go back and read the minutes, there's a lot more going on than what people think. So I think there's somehow or another, somebody can have a suggestion on how we can mill those ideas.
So, Mr. Chair, I think the first task for the committee is what we're starting with tonight. Basically, okay, here's the committee, let's familiarize you with what's here. Because obviously you all got here, so you know where it is, but let's get into depth as to what is in place. That's gonna, once you kind of have an understanding of what's here, then we can kind of get into a space analysis of what the city's needs are now for space and what they're likely to be in the future based on what we're projecting for growth.
Question?
I have a follow-up question to the current employees. I know that projection 40 for the fire station, but has there been any discussion or talk about growth within actual departments besides what is, like, I understand what we have now, cool, but what is like future numbers? Has that been looked into, been thought into, or is this, sorry, follow-up question more so for
Mr. Chair. So the city council really hasn't laid out a future staffing plan, but we can project what that will be in terms of space needs, just based on population growth corresponding to what's in place now. So we'll kind of look at the space here, say, this is what's available, tie it to the population projections that we used as part of the incorporation and comprehensive plan update to say, we foresee a need in the future for additional space, either as you add more subdivisions, you have more streets to plow. At some point, there's gonna need to be another plow truck, maintenance truck. You have challenges with the fire department in terms of 169, so not only this facility, but is there a need in the future to look east of 169 for a substation? The fact that this space doesn't have, you know, a true meeting room for the city council separate from the administration functions. So we can kind of lay out square footages that direct as to what would either need to be expanded or looked at in a new facility. The other part that goes with that is kind of understanding the condition of this 40-year-old building and that 20-year-old building. And what just maintaining these buildings as they are would involve. There are some pretty significant deficiencies that, as the staff was preparing for this meeting to lead you through and show you, that were kind of surprising to learn from my perspective. I've been in the shop for 2 annual meetings and now for the incorporation meeting in the main shop. I've never been in the fire department. But so then once we get to that point, and to the chair's questions, once there's kind of this base understanding, then we can work on developing some core objectives for how the committee wants to consider what the city should do in the future. And then those principles would essentially guide the committee's decision-making. And at that point, we probably also need to start looking at bringing in other experts in terms of construction costs, building design, et cetera. So, or rely on experts that we have here on the committee, as may be the case.
Did you still have a question?
Mr. Chairman, I got a couple questions here. The current size of this whole facility is how many acres, if I may ask?
I believe it's 8, right?
Approximately 8.
And how big is the 45-9 site?
8 acres.
Is it possible to get a zoning map of Baldwin?
It's like, are they on the wall?
There is one on the website.
There is?
Yeah,
Yeah,
look on the
that's-
website, yeah. There's one there, I thought there was one on the wall too, but there's one on the website.
Does
Oh, yeah.
Baldwin have
We
all-
can just set up one to have here.
Yeah.
I have a question, Mr. Chair, your statement, you know, and I think it's really speaks to the environment of construction these days, when we're talking about a 20 to 40-year-old building needing attention and perhaps replacement. That's a sad state of affairs. Today's materials and methods allow us to build a 75 or 100-year building without really blinking an eye. So I think we want to really look at the long-term longevity of buildings and look at long-term growth potential. And I wrote just an idea for a mission statement, something along the lines of discovering the best use of available resources for long-term success for Baldwin's buildings and functionality. Because we do need to look to the future, not only the size of what we need for people, but also the longevity of the buildings. You know, building with dimensional lumber and fiberglass insulation, sticks and itch, we call it, is inexpensive, but it's also very short visioned. You know, you start talking about insulated concrete forms, SIPS panels, things of that nature. You can build a building much longer than 20 and 40-year life expectancy. And I just wanted to, that's where I'm gonna be advocating, is long-term viability of these buildings, because we should be better builders than that. 20, 40-year-old building. I know size is one thing, but also energy efficiency is another thing. When you look at energy modeling and what does it take to maintain heat and cooling within a building, we can do better than what we've done when we built these. We did the best we could at that time, but we're a lot smarter today than we were 20, 40 years ago.
Mr. Chair, just for the sake of argument, we have 8 acres here. We're a brand new city. I don't know what your proposal would cost. I know the one down on the corner down below is about 17 million. And way beyond the city's ability to do that. And I agree with you that it should have a long-term building, but for right now, while the city's getting on its feet without doing something that we said we would not do, which is raise taxes, I think we need to direct our looking first at all of the things that we can do here within the budget of the city and make these buildings better, safer, and stronger for the time being for, say, our 5-year plan. And then at the end of that 5 years, then we can continue planning for that big building and get our monetary structure set before we jump in all without our clothes on to,
Let's do one thing. Let's not take the emotion in this very first meeting of everybody, right? Because that's, I understand where you're coming from there. So I'm gonna keep that in mind, and let's go forward.
Mr. Chair, so I think at this point, it's important, this is an open process. There is no conclusion about what should be done. You may in your own mind have things, but you need to follow the process, become educated and informed, look at the alternatives, and then as a committee, make decisions on what the recommendation to the council would be. We're starting to get down the road of what we want to look at in the future. The goal tonight was really to give city staff the opportunity to show you the facilities that are here today, so that you have a base understanding going into this process of what's here. The next step, since that way we can avoid coming back together as a group at the end of the tour, would be the next meeting, we would kind of go over what you saw and put it into issues, kind of by area, by category, and rank and prioritize what this group sees as priorities, less of a priority in terms of what's here. And then we start developing those strategies to respond to those. So it takes a while. Everyone kind of assumes that we're gonna just shoot forward and start coloring maps and doing things, but there needs to be a very deliberate process followed to reach conclusions that can make recommendations to the council. And one final thought, Mr. Chair, is, the role of this committee is to be independent of the city council. Anytime you're talking about spending taxpayer dollars, whether it's refurbishing these facilities or building new ones, there's gonna be people in the public simply oppose the entire concept. That what you got is good enough, make do, and so having this group look independently at the situation, consider alternatives, and make recommendations, gives some legitimacy and protection to the city council when it comes time for them to make actual decisions that are in the best interests of the community, which is their role. And it's important that that independence be maintained.
Let's take a couple more questions and then we'll.
Mr. Chairman, I got one more here. So when the last proposal for the last fire station come through, did they happen to do a space study needs at all?
Yeah, we don't know this one.
Okay.
Brand new. I will know before it was connected. Chair.
So you're seeing quickly here that there's a wide spectrum of what can be done. So it could fall anywhere in between there, maybe it becomes just a bridge to get us to the next phase. We need you to help us identify the bridge and the long term. So, I mean, there's kind of there's a multifaceted thing here, but tonight, you're just gonna see what the bones are, you're gonna get a look at the skeleton.
Thank you, Jeff, and then one on the tour.
Thank you. A couple questions. Mr. Mayor, do you have office space here? And if you don't, do you need office space?
I don't to date, we have not needed that. I own Swan Tech up in the business park up there. A lot of those things happen actually in my office there, people call, that kind of thing. So, no, there is not a mayor's office here, if you will.
Working from home.
And Mr. Chair, that would not be typical of a city this size to have an office for council members.
And another question, just point of clarification, the 45 and 9 spot, that's purchased?
Yes.
Okay. And the last question is, for the fire department, Brian, I know you have a lot of experience with fire departments, but do you feel your space over there is adequate for the space, what you need to service? Or
I'll let the chief answer that, so I don't get in trouble.
I think that's the, Mr. Chair.
That'll be
that's-
happening when we go through.
Let's
the
go,
point of
let's
the
wait on the
tour is so
tour
you
for
can
this,
see for yourself.
I can tell you from just walking through it, it's at the brim, they don't have any more space. And you need to witness it for yourself because you'll be able to come to that conclusion on your own.
Keep an open mind. My feeling is, think about the long term and what the long term, I don't wanna throw good money after bad, so let's look long term kind of thing. Keep an open mind, take a look at it, make your own opinions. The quote on the 17 million, just wanna clarify that the fire station and the city hall was about 12, is when they added a separate maintenance facility, that's what really kicked it up. So just, if you're looking just at the city hall and fire station, that was a lower price, not to say that's the way it's going. Quite frankly, that design had everything we needed in it, doesn't mean we have to do that, do all that, but certainly that price can come down. Just have to figure out what we can get by with, so.
Mr. Chair, can I ask, just because you're all here, and I'm guessing you have three choices, leave stuff the same, improve, build new. And I'm guessing Baldwin isn't sitting on a big cash pile that even improvements, we're gonna have to borrow money.
Correct.
On that. What percentage rate are we paying this time? We'd have to go and take a loan out, whether it be to improve that or.
If we did that, it would be a bond.
Bond, yeah.
And so it would be whatever the rate is, and I believe it was 5.3% or something now. I think it hopefully it comes down by the time we get around to doing that.
And do we usually go over 20 years on,
Well, it depends. It depends on what we're bonding for. So it could be 10 years for a smaller project, it could be up to, I think up to 30 years actually, if need be, if the numbers are big enough.
okay.
Any other questions from the board?
One last question. Is there a projection of what the population will do in the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years?
Yes, but not in this first meeting. Question?
I'm curious, does the community get a say in some of the decisions that we're making?
Part of what we're doing is we're reaching out and being the city's eyes and ears to help for that, because expose the information to them, they don't respond. That's why the happiness of the respondents of all the people that are here, it's really valuable, because you're gonna have to network to your friends and family.
Are our committee meetings open to the public too, if they want to come in?
Yes, they are.
All right, so with that, we do have City Clerk Joan Heinlein, Street Superintendent Zach Good, and Phil are here for Public Works. And then Chief Case will lead through the fire station, so.
And before we start with, I wanna thank Joan, because Joan does a lot of the stuff behind the scenes that we never see, and even being here, so thank you, Joan, I wanna make sure that's publicly said. Can you tell us about?
Yes. So me and my deputy clerk, we kind of went through, so this is basically a needs assessment. So it's not what we want, but basically what we need to perform our job as best as, you know, with the needs that we have here. Andy can probably help with this, but we have a concern with this door and probably this door that they're not probably handicap accessible doors. So that has kind of a lip on it, as you guys kind of seen when you came in. So I know that the far door out in Public Works is handicap accessible, but I don't believe that this door or that door is. Something that I see a big need for is building security. The camera up there, I don't believe works. So security would be a big thing. I'm looking at as far as security glass. You go into a lot of government buildings and city halls and so forth, and they have, you know, glass, and it doesn't protect you, but any little bit helps. As you can see on our windows, this is what we use for posting. So when you drive by here and you see everything plastered on the walls, that's how we do our official posting at the city hall. It would be nice if we had something that you'll kind of walk by, you'll see somebody go to one window, then the next window, and the next window. It'd be nice to have something that kind of puts everything as one storybook. Right now we have it separated as City Hall, Planning Commission, Park Meeting, miscellaneous stuff, elections down there. Be nice to have something that is just kind of more together. That also includes that table in the back, which is our newsletter, handouts for our residents, that type of thing. Not a very good setup there either. Maybe have that so it's more accessible to the residents. We notice a lot, and this was already brought up, that the city hall is not very welcoming when there is meetings here. We've had a lot of people that open the door and they'll be like, whoops, you know, so we have a lot of meetings with the building official, the planning and zoning. We have our IT guy that comes in here. He has meetings with us. Also, when there is meetings, the deputy clerk sits back there, and I sit in that office, and there's really, it's very disturbing because you'll hear everything with the meeting and so forth going on, so that's kind of difficult. If me or the deputy clerk are not part of the meetings, again, there's not enough quiet room, so if you're on the phone, you always hear the talking here because everything's so wide open. So it'd be nice to have something like a separate conference room, or, you know, we could also use that as a lunchroom too. Our file cabinets, and I don't know if eventually you guys want to get up and walk around, but we have file cabinets over there. We have file cabinets in that back room. We also have a room over in the fire department that's full of our files too. We have to have all those files because they are per our retention policy. If there was a fire, everything would be gone. We need a fire safe room. Our setup for our desks, again, are very hard because if I sit in there, but yet my deputy clerk, which sits over here, takes care of all the walk-ins and the public. So she walks from there to there, And then I sit behind her and I hear everything. It's really hard to concentrate along with it if you're on the phone and so forth. So we really don't have any quiet areas at all. A lot of background noise. So we did have a part-time administrative assistant. Everyone knows Marlene, hopefully. She's amazing. But when we hired a full-time deputy clerk, her desk was actually right where Richard Marshall was. So as everybody knows, as population grows, so does the residents' need. And if we ever had to add staff, we wouldn't have any room to put them because that was kind of awkward having her sitting right out there. Right now, our copier room is in that corner there. It'd be nice to kind of have a spot to put your copier room along with your paper and your office supplies. Right now, we have the copier there, the paper back there, and the office supplies in here. And I mean, if you guys want to walk through here, you can. We kind of moved everything. There's a storage room back here. We have our computers and monitors and IT inventory. That should be in a safer room.
What inventory was that?
Monitors, computers, and that type of thing. IT stuff. Most of it is laptops, monitors, that type of thing. In that back room, there's baseboard heating, OSHA, because we had stuff against it, but we moved it away a little bit, but they still gave us a citation on that. So in that room, it's quite tight back there. I think I already said a lunchroom, and I already brought up as far as the handouts back there. When we have city council meetings, and a lot of you can probably attest to this, even during the incorporation hearing, we need more room for seating, because this will fill up if there's quite an exciting meeting, and it's very tight in here. The storm shelter is huge. If there was a storm, we don't have anywhere to go. And my last thing, which is really huge, is our elections. Our election in Precinct 1 that we have here is very crowded. I have a concern with privacy when people are voting. We have our booths kind of pretty close together. And, you know, I'm okay with Precinct 2 because that's in the garage, but I mean, is that the ideal place for it? I don't know. But our Precinct 1 election in here is way too crowded. And our parking space for elections is also not sufficient. And at this point, that's all I have.
Mr. Chair? Just a follow-up question, gentlemen, there's specific security requirements for elections, like storage of the voting machines, ballots and everything. How do you handle that within the current space?
So typically the machine holds them ballots, and if they get filled out, you know, and that's locked. You know, so that part of it is fine. We do have locked storage areas here, but not enough that we would transport them. But again, that's another issue. And would that be something that you would want to put in a fire safe room also? Because we would have, sometimes we get ballots a day before the election. We have to keep them locked up. They should be in a fire safe room.
And Mr. Chair, just one comment I would add to what Jones talked about in terms of this space is, having worked in several city halls and council chambers, it's problematic having a door situated as it is where staff cannot view it from their desks. Jones is kind of hidden behind that wall, Kayla's behind the computer. Also, if the council is sitting here with their backs to the window out to a public parking lot is not an ideal situation from a security standpoint in today's environment. So.
It's very welcoming, because if somebody walks in, I have to actually move my chair back, and Kayla has to stand up. You know, so we need something more to welcome our residents, you know, to come in instead of, you know, where are you? I would recommend, if you guys, I know it's kind of crowded in here, but if you want to take a walk around, and, you know, everything has been secured and turned upside down and stuff. There's nothing that, you know, you know,
Why don't
should
we all
see.
walk through and then we can go out to the.
You mentioned the IT persons, is that a contract employee or is that somebody within the?
It's Sherburne County IT, so he comes out here periodically to do our IT needs and so forth.
Yeah, here you go.
It's been 2, 3, 4 years.
Since you and I crossed paths. Oh, here.
Good meeting, incorporation.
That was this. Yeah, that wasn't sitting in the garage. But this wasn't sitting in the garage. That was the. Excellent. You still there? Oh, of course.
Here 2, 3 times a week.
I don't hear you. I can see from.
Geez, don't I do that enough? No.
I tell those guys. Phil, nice to meet you. As always, Two guys with brothers, who would have thought? I'll make room, you guys are like twins.
I've been back there enough.
I agree with you. I figured you kinda knew your way.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot to say, I was also a township worker.
That's right.
For a couple summers.
Where felt it was? No, it was just a short-term solution.
I wish they would have asked me. If I could build a fire station for work, that would be.
Stand in one spot, turn around, I saw it.
Yeah.
Doesn't take long.
Back here, I don't need any more walks.
We got exchange information.
So good so far. You know, I mean, that,
Good cross section, it's gonna be interesting, to say the least.
spin around once, you've seen the whole joint.
Oh, yeah. All I have to do is stand up and look like this and say, okay.
Yeah.
Nice job, Dan.
I was like, you know, they have smash rooms. Right, it's a sledgehammer.
You're a stenographer. You're gonna take that verbatim, word for word, like a court reporter. It's gonna make everybody look like everybody looks.
Good job, Joe.
Good list.
Phenomenal.
Crush that thing, I didn't even think of.
Phenomenal. What's that?
She had things there I didn't even think of.
Oh, yeah, and the elections. Well, you know, and so now is when we come back and people say, yeah, well, what about these elections? And we can talk to them about precinct 1 or precinct 2, the size of it, how it's split up, what the needs are. You know what I mean? So really you planted the seeds of the overview things, whatever, if you will, that are gonna